As you've heard throughout the evening, this year we've chosen the theme Better Together. And it's a great opportunity for us to showcase some of the excellent partnerships that we've developed. We're extremely proud of the work that we do with our partner organisations, whether it be our system-wide partnerships across the health system to community involvement. At the heart of every partnership is a shared vision to provide excellent care and support for our people, carers and their families. By working together, we are indeed better and can make a difference not only to our service users, but also have a wider impact on our local communities and their health. We've selected four videos to focus on tonight, but also wanted to share with you a few other examples of the variety of partnerships that we have and that we have developed. So here's a short video highlighting those.
In 2018, changes were made to Gosport Discovery Centre's building to make it fit for purpose as it transitioned to a community hub. Libraries had already evolved into thriving community spaces. However, for some, quiet study and reading spaces were still needed, and trying to balance the demands of a variety of library users was challenging. With support from property services and using customer and partner feedback, a new layout was designed. This included the first changing space in the high street, disabled access toilets, creation of an older person's daycare unit, as well as the updating of the community cafe and registration service office to make it more integrated with the rest of the building. One of the biggest changes was the addition of a new children and families floor. This included fit-for-purpose meeting rooms, which could be used by a range of partners to deliver health, family support, parenting and learning services. Since 2018, partnership working and changes in layout have resulted in increased footfall and engagement with the community. Some of the partners who now deliver from the building include Southern Health, health visiting teams, adults and children's services, and Barnardo's. The library has continued with its core universal offer, which includes story time, rhyme time, and new parents groups, as well as providing a range of information through books and the digital offer. Success of the building and customer engagement has been dependent on strong partnership working. Due to the need to quickly adapt through the pandemic, services have innovated creative ways to work together to support families and children, to address gaps and prevent duplication. For families, this has resulted in them being able to get access to help and intervention when they need it, in a way they want it, either through what was on offer in the building or the digital offer that all partners signpost to. Going forward, we are now working with Children's Services to develop a speech and language pathway, and bespoke training has been designed for all frontline staff so they can embed speech and language principles and parental engagement through all sessions. The library footfall continues to increase and is recovering well post-pandemic. Families and children continue to use the range of universal services available to them in the building, and know that should they need any additional support, staff are usually on hand to signpost them to the relevant service.
through the noise, the pain, the fear, through the CPR and the days like no other, through the nights that feel like they'll never end, through the moments you wonder if it really was worth it, through the acronyms, the confusion and the pacing, through the meetings, the decisions, the paperwork, through the unseen symptoms and the ones that are all too visible, through the chats with people who respond to the invisible, through the questions that can only be answered with tears. There's us, and we are waiting for you.
We are the drinks at the end of the day.
We are the embraces and the never-ending support. We are patience, we are understanding.
We are the family we saw in crisis. We are the family we create. We are here to heal again and again and again.
We are another meeting. We are another adjustment.
We are relentless.
We are determined.
We are thanked.
We are rewarded. We see you thrive and we are grateful. We are proud to be the NHS. You are kind, you are resourceful, you are resilient. You want to turn off the phones and turn on the connection. You are caring, you are patient.
You know what mental health truly means.
You are compassionate, you are resourceful, you are skilled. You want to challenge.
You want to be trained to be the best.
You will not be strapped to a desk.
You are not perfect, but you never give up. You are in it for the long haul. You are here for the people you love.
And the ones you haven't met. You are the joy of winning and watching them flourish.
We are proud to be the NHS.
You may not know it yet,
but we are waiting for you.
I really hope you enjoyed watching those short clips. I would now like to introduce Emily Chemba, Clinical Lead for the Urgent Treatment Centre at Petersfield Community Hospital, to tell us about the work they've been doing in the South East region.
Hello, thank you very much. Thanks for letting me talk about my favourite subject, which is urgent care. So can I have the first slide, please? Fab. So I've just been asked to do a quick 10 minutes on what I've been working on, one of the partnerships that we've been working on. So I will run through what the partnership is and how it works, how that then impacts the patients, and then how it then impacts the staff. Oh, next slide, please. So what the partnership is that within the South East, there is 3 urgent treatment centres, and I work as the clinical lead for Petersfield Urgent Treatment Centre, and I work for Southern Health. There's another 2 other treatment centres, one at Gosport War Memorial, which is run by Portsmouth Hospitals, and then St Mary's Treatment Centre that's run by PPG, which is, oh my goodness, completely lost what that acronym stands for. Will come back to me. So the partnership is the 3 urgent treatment centres working together, along with the ICB, or was formerly the CCG, And that was partly with their transformation team and then partly with their primary care team. So it's been going, the partnership sort of started probably about June 2021, but it's really had a really good focus in the last year. And really, the main idea of it is that everybody knows what an emergency department is, and everybody knows what a GP surgery is. But actually, there is a grey area in the middle, which is urgent care, and it is emerging. And what we wanted to make sure is that all the 3 treatment centres within this area are all saying the same thing, doing the same thing, and acting in the same way to make it easier for patients. And so we've done a lot of work around all of the providers coming together and saying, okay, what is urgent care and what does that mean? And for us, our main sort of mantra is together, everybody working together on, if somebody gets better access at a timely manner, it prevents them from becoming really unwell and then needing to go down to an A&E department. And so that's been sort of playing off in the background of this whole partnership, is just trying to prevent people from getting sick in the first place, so needing the emergency department, and just giving them a good access to urgent care. We've had within this partnership, it's been sort of varied, and I'll go more into it in the next slide, but really the 3 providers have come together to look globally across the system. And so we at Southern have been working on the front door of ED to help them out when they were in their major incident earlier in this year, with some senior nursing expertise on the front door to support their staff and to support the patients to know where they needed to go. And then we've been working a lot with the GP surgeries, so that to sort of say, you know, we'll take some of these patients off your hands, we'll help you out. You know, we know you're struggling, or we know that we may be able to help in this way. And really, it's been the partnership together has been looking across the system of how best we are to help. Next slide, please. So how do we work together? So we have, I've put a little picture of COVID here because in my mind, COVID's had some real plus points and some disadvantages. And for how we work together, it had some big disadvantages because partnership working on teams is actually really hard. And so we were very anxious over this last year to get back and to be face to face with one another, clinicians to clinicians. And we do that in our monthly subgroup meetings, where which is what we call it, where all 3 of the clinical leads come together with some ops people and various from all the different providers. And we sit and we discuss clinical matters, the clinical things that are affecting us. And it's a really powerful thing when 3 senior clinicians who have got similar but different experience coming together, because they're all running the 3 different urgent treatment centres. And so we do one subgroup a month. We do every 2 weeks, we do an ops meeting, which is headed up by Portsmouth. They provide the ops operational cover. And so that's been a bit of a struggle over COVID. But one of the plus points of COVID, I feel like within the NHS, like in my actual community life, I think there's been a good sort of openness and community spirit. And so I've really enjoyed going through to the other urgent treatment centres and the EDs to do site visits, and mainly to pinch all of their really good ideas and bring them back to Petersfield. And likewise, they've come to me and shared some and had a look, and we've shared some of ours. What we have done is we have also shared our staff across the sites, which in COVID times when there's been short of staff, or we have lent our staff. In fact, we've actually lent ours more than they've come back, but I think that's because we're in quite a good position staff wise. I don't want to show off about it, but we're in a good position. So we've lent our staff out, which has been interesting. Because when you go and work in a different location, although you're very experienced, it's hard to know, do you do you guys give this in this situation, or do you do this? And it does slow you up. So part of this work that we've been doing in this joint team, joint partnership, is that we have been trying to make those differences as small as possible. On the next slide, I'll describe it more, but as an example, sometimes you don't know if you do send a urine for this or you don't, or you do send a swab for this or you don't. So we've been standardizing all the procedures, which makes it, when we lend out staff or I go and work in a different department, it makes it far easier for me to know that what we do in one urgent treatment centre, they do in the other. Yes, so the next point was open and honest sharing of ideas and experiences. It's been amazing. This partnership, I've sort of been like, oh, I'm just, what's your needle stick policy? I'm checking through mine, and I'll just get very quickly pinged 2 emails from the other clinical leads going, oh, this is ours. I need to work on ours. Can I see yours? And it's been really lovely. That sort of camaraderie of, we all have similar problems, and it's working together. We're all one NHS. There's no point me sitting down and writing the whole policy from scratch. So it's been a very it's been good working. On to the next one. Next slide, sorry. That's it. So all this working together that we have been doing, it's obviously had impacts on 2 sets of people. One, it's the patients, and the next bit is the staff. So on this slide, we just discuss a little bit of how it has impacted our patients. So the main thing for us has been that it is consistent care across the urgent treatment centres. What you don't want is one person coming to Gosport and being told one thing, and then they go to Petersfield with the same thing and they're told something completely different. And so what we've been trying to do is we're trying to keep everything as consistent as possible. So every single patient advice leaflet that we hand out across the 3 sites says exactly the same thing. It has different branding, but it says exactly the same wording, so that a patient knows that for an ankle injury, you need to rest it, you need to ice it, and you need to elevate it. And it's also that each of the 3 treatment centres see exactly the same things. So you don't get sent from Petersfield all the way down to St Mary's, because they see eyes or they see back pains. It's making sure that all of the conditions that we can all see are all exactly the same. And actually now we're working on increasing that scope, looking at the greater system, thinking, what do we need to be able to, what urgent treatments and things do we, 1 minute left, thank you, do we need to be working on? And we've also been working jointly about raising the awareness of urgent treatment centres and what we're best to help, which is the leaflet just on the side. Final slide, please. Oh, sorry, no, penultimate slide. This slide is just some feedback that we've been got. I think sometimes we all forget to show off a little bit. So this is some lovely feedback from some patients that we've had. Next slide, please. For me, I'm super, super passionate. I know it was discussed earlier, but we've really got to support our staff, and keeping good staff is a real tricky in this climate, and they're a scarce resource. So part of this partnership has been talking about not stealing staff from one another, so that if we all give teaching sessions, we share among the staff. So I open it up to PHT and PPG staff that want to come to us and can have our teaching sessions. And that's been great for the staff, because everybody wants to develop and learn new skills and new things and new stuff. It's also meant that we can do consistent career progression. So you have to do X, Y, and Z, or this set of competencies, or this master's to then move up to the next step. And doing that across the 3 treatment centres means there's no one going, oh, I want to get a band 8 if I go down to Portsmouth and I nip down there. They do it within 2 years. And And it also means that in the greater system, when one department might be struggling, you're not in it alone. There's another department that will lend you some staff to help you out, because there are those days where for some reason there's a football match on and you literally fall over, and you're all working really hard. And so it's all about that greater working, trying to get patients to come up to Petersfield or Gosport if St Mary's is struggling, and likewise lending staff as well. And I think this is a picture of us at some of our members of the team at the Urgent Care Conference. And it was a couple of weeks ago, and that was a lovely greater partnership across the country of urgent care, and what urgent care means. So I'm sorry that I've run over my time, but thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much indeed, Emily. Two things stood out for me there. One was around making sure that people don't become unwell in the first place. And the other was the importance of working in this extended team for our staff. And so fantastic. Thank you very much indeed for that presentation. Could I now move to our second presentation, which is from Anne Cato at St Denny's Activity Group in Southampton. There's a lot of work been done with St Denny's and Anne, and we're going to hear about that now. So thank you very much.
Yeah, my name is Anne Cato, and I'm going to do a short presentation of how we have been working together with Southern Health, Brightaway Charity, and us, St Denny's Activity Group. Next slide, please. So I am a member of Health Watch strategic team in Southampton, and it is through this group I came to become a member of working in partnership team in Southern Health. I am also a volunteer at St Denny's Activity Group, and I'll talk about St Denny's in a little while. And also I'll talk about the investigation that we carried out into factors influencing Black, Asian, and minority ethnic BEM communities' access to mental health services and mental health support groups. I'll also talk about our achievements. And next slide, please. So before I go on, I just want to say how St. Denny's Activity Group started. The pastor of the church wanted to open his hall for use by the community groups. And he asked me to help him set up a drop-in for people with mental health issues. And that group we started, and it's been running for over 6 years. So partnership came about when I became a member of working in partnership group at Southern Health. We invited Don Buck to come and visit St. Denny's Activity Group. And the aim of that visit was to explore how we could work together to try and increase the number of BEM service users engaging with mental health support groups and also mental health services. We know there's people who suffer from mental health and they don't seek help from BEM communities. And at St. Denny's Activity Group, we have 45 members, and there are only 4 from BEM community. So we wanted to lead a look at that as volunteers. The other thing we wanted, having invited Dawn, is to have a resource, because sometimes when the members, the service users come to the group, they ask us questions that we cannot answer. So sometimes I'll email Dawn and say, where do I take this? Other times we just phone College Keep for advice, because we don't want to give conflicting advice, as we are aware most of the service users that come to us, 90% are under care of Southern Health. And the others just come because they are isolated. Next slide, please. So in order to achieve our aim of increasing or try to increase, I shouldn't say that, service users from BEM community engaging with support groups and mental health services. We needed primarily to understand why people from BEM communities in Southampton were reluctant to access support group and mental health services. And so St. Denis Activity Group decided, actually what we need to do is go out in the community, talk to the community and just find out why. We could not talk to anyone who was under care of a psychiatrist. And like I said before, we only had 4 members anyway from BEM community attending the group out of 45. So we went out to carry out the action research, I'll call it. We collaborated with the United Voice of African Association, simply because they have got a pool of BEM groups that they work with. And we knew if we went out to them, we could reach more BEM people just to have conversations about mental health. But we also needed funding. Next slide, please. So when the volunteers, they agreed they wanted to undertake this piece of work, I went to Donback and just embraced it, and that gave us a lot of confidence. We applied for funding to kickstart that action research from Brightaway Charity. And I must say that research was completed in October 2021. We interviewed people sometimes via Zoom, and through the United Voices of African Association, like I said, they've got a pool of BEM communities they work with. The men volunteers were able to go to mosque to interview people at the mosque after the restrictions were eased a bit. We managed to interview 33 participants. And within those 33 participants, there were carers, BEM carers of people with mental health issues. So we've sent the report to Donback. If you want to read the report, it's 25 pages. And the main recommendations, we condensed it into 3. Education and raising awareness of mental health. Most people we spoke to, wanted to know more about mental health. They want an understanding of mental health, and they wanted the communities as well to be educated on mental health. So before I go to the community empowerment, I'm just going to read one paragraph from the report that we carried out, if I can find it now. Yes, this is from the report. There seems to be a general agreement that mental health is a stigmatized condition, especially among BEM communities. People in our BEM communities come from different cultural backgrounds, which suggest different understandings and perspective of mental health. Yet, the image of mental health is generally a negative one that encourages secrecy, fear, and stigmatization. These 3 things seem to be intertwined, reinforcing each other. And as we interviewed people, this came up several times. It is therefore not a surprise that mental health is considered as a taboo subject across our BEM communities. Openly talking about mental health diagnosis is not a norm and is often not approved by some communities. And as such, it carries a degree of risk. The risk of being provoked, insulted, called names, or isolated occurs if one's mental health status becomes public. And you can see why sometimes access from people with mental health issues, they don't want to access. It's a taboo. Keep it secret, don't talk about it. And that's why we condense these three main recommendations about education and raising awareness, community empowerment. People want to be empowered to be able to talk about mental health, and also their communities to be empowered. Come to the professional and community interface. This is where the people we interviewed were saying they need to see more of professionals in the community to talk to them about mental health and to engage with them in the community so that they can reach organizations that support them, like faith leaders basically were key to tackling mental health. And really, anybody who is looking to go into the community, places of worship are key when you are coming to talk to BAME communities, Christian faith, Islamic, and any other faith. If you can go and talk to the leaders, then you'll be tackling a huge problem, because what they were saying to us is, if my faith leader accepts actually people can suffer from mental health, talks openly about it, then I'm more inclined to talk about it. Next slide, please. I think it's come a bit smaller now. Can you go to the next one before this one, the next one? So you remember I spoke about education and empowerment. So as part of that recommendation, we spoke with Dawn, who liaised with everybody in Southern Health, and we were very, very successful in running a mental health awareness day on 25th of June this year, and that was attended by 150 people. At this event, I was overwhelmed because it was supported fully by Southern Health NHS staff, including the communications team. And out of our action research, I must say, the BAME carers, people who care for their loved ones with mental health, they say it's the first time they've ever spoken to anyone about their views, what they suffer with, about mental health of their loved ones. And what they've done after we presented, spoke to them after the report, they felt so empowered that they have started their BAME carers group. And that group has been funded by Mind the Gap Project, Southern Health, and it's been supported by Southern Health Carers team. And there's a video clip on the awareness there, and you can see people sitting there. And what impressed me about this day was the diversity of people that attended. Different people. It was open to anybody in Southampton to attend, and we were really successful. Next slide, please. Or the one before that, the one before that. Oh yeah, that one. What happened during the COVID restrictions? Our members at St. Denis Activity Group were sending text messages, because we've got a group phone, saying that they felt really isolated. Some were saying their mental health had deteriorated. And we didn't know what to do, but we met on Zoom as volunteers to see what can we do when the restrictions were a bit eased. And we came up with the idea of cooking hot meals for them to collect at the door of the hall. We applied for funding for Right Away Charity for this project. And when the restrictions were eased, we were able to cook hot food, hot meals for them to collect. And the meals were also delivered to service users with restricted mobility. So we used to deliver at the door, ring the bell, step back, and they collect. And one of the things I clearly remember, somebody says, even seeing somebody from afar meant my mental health. Really, I felt people cared. And this project has got very positive comment, which we sent to Brighter Way Charity. It was really successful. Next slide, please. So over the past few years, we've been working with Southern Health, and we've had a really fruitful working partnership. So through our partnership, Southern Health and St. Denis Activity Group, Southern Health has been able to engage with BEM communities, more BEM communities, while St. Denis Activity Group has been able to support its service users and help the voices of the needs of its communities to be heard. We are aware there's still a lot of work to be done. And while St. Denis Activity Group, which is a voluntary group, is still running, we are happy to carry on really working together. And the other slide, please, and then you can see the video if we got enough time. The last slide. Yeah. I want to say a big thank you to Dawn Burke, because Dawn has been to St. Denis a few times face to face with us, and she made it possible for us to work together. Brighter Way Charity, fantastic. They supported all the projects that we did, the food project, the mental health awareness, and the research project. I must say thank you to Sarah Reid, Comms Department, because with all the planning of the awareness day, she was there. She was there on the day for the event, and she did the videos at St. Denis, which if we have time, she can show one in a minute. So thank you, Sarah. Angelina put everything together. She walks the street of Postwood with me, and giving leaflets and checking the venue to make sure that it was appropriate. And within that day, we had about 15 agencies coming, and people really appreciated that, because they didn't know there were so many agencies out there to support people with all sorts of things, really. So I want to thank you. And Amelia and Kate for supporting the BEM Carers group to take off, basically. Thank you very much. And on that day, there were so many of Southern Health staff. I can't name them all, there are very many. And I was overwhelmed, and I just want to say thank you. And I don't know how to play the video. Sarah will have to do that. There's a video if we got time. So that is me.
Every one of us is affected in one way or another with something, whether it's mental health issues, diabetes, family members with cancer, it doesn't matter. What we do know is that that affects all of us in different ways. And it's really important that we know that there are people out there, organisations out there, partners and friends who will support us. There is a wealth of information available to all of you, and it's events like today that gives members of the public and in actual fact partners and colleagues who may work together but don't actually know what's available for different organisations to tap into. You know, and you only have to take that opportunity to open up, and there is someone there that can help you in whatever way you or your loved ones need help.
We're really pleased to be able to support this work. I just wanted to emphasise that today is around engaging with you all to get involved in this work, to take it forward, and it's just the first step in how we carry out the recommendations. And Southern are committed to continuing to work with smaller voluntary groups like St. Denis and anyone else who wants to be involved, so that we can truly address some of the mental health challenges for local Southampton people.
Hello, I'm Fran Carpenter. I'm a Hampshire County Councillor, and it's been fantastic to be at today's event. I think the things I've taken away are a much broader picture of the issues that different groups within our communities face, BAME communities, faith communities, and people with disabilities. So thank you again to the organisers, and thank you for inviting me.
Hello, my name's Susie Scorer and I'm from the St Dennis Activity Centre. I used to be a public governor of the Trust for 9 years, but now I work in the community helping people, and I thought today was really good. We learned so much about community work, social prescribing, peer support, what there's going on, mental health things in the community. So thank you very much for all the work that you have done today.
My name is Ann Cato. I am a volunteer at St. Dennis Activity Group. And today we are running an event in collaboration with Southern Health NHS Trust. We've had a lot of people coming today to listen and to talk about mental health issues. They are engaging. And one thing I can say today is that collaboration with Southern Health NHS Trust and funding from Brighter Way Charity, we could not have done it without Brighter Way Charity. One of the things I'm going to take away is how happy people are this event has happened. They are very happy that the NHS Trust is engaging with the community, and they are very happy that people are freely talking about mental health issues. And I just think it's been a very positive day. And I just think there will be more of this.
My name is Ramesh, and I am the current chairman of the St. Dennis Activity Group. My experience is that personally, from my own point of view, I wasn't comfortable about talking about mental health. In time, now I realize that talking about mental health is a good way of being on a journey of improvement. If I had known, if I could have changed anything, I would have asked for the services. I had some cultural issues and I was embarrassed because in our community is that if you had any mental health issues or if you informed anybody, they would make judgments upon the family, and my family would have been stigmatized. They would have been ostracized by the rest of my extended family and the community. And that's the hardest thing to do, is who do you share the information you've got or your feelings? Seek help. Don't leave it too long. That if the earliest you can talk to somebody, that is going to be the best way for you to start your journey of recovery and hope.
Well, thank you, Anne, and also thank you, Dawn, and thank you for the two of you working in this wonderful partnership. It's something that the Trust Board has been very hugely interested in, and we certainly would want to do so much more going forward. So thank you, both of you, and all of you. So our next video and our next presentation is from Emma Darwood, who's an individual placement and support service manager, and she's going to present the work supporting our community mental health patients and gaining employment. So over to you, Emma.
Thanks, Lynn. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. I've got some slides to go with this as well, so we'll just wait for them to pop up. Brilliant, thank you. So I am the manager of Southampton Individual Placement and Support Team, which is a Southampton City Council service, and we work in partnership with Southern Health. Next slide, please. Southampton IPS are part of Southampton City Council's Employment Support Team, or EST for short, and we've been supporting people, Southampton residents, with employment since 1990. EST piloted employment support in partnership with Southern Health back in 2015, and The survey, the pilot was very successful, and we were awarded funding to integrate 3 employment specialists into Southern Health community mental health teams in 2016. The service has continued to be very successful, and we now have 6 employment specialists integrated within the community mental health teams and early intervention in psychosis team in Southampton. We also have another employment specialist within the specialist community forensic team, and we have a separate team based within Southampton's drug and alcohol services. Next slide, please. So IPS is a model of employment support designed specifically for people who are engaging with secondary mental health services. And this quote provides quite a comprehensive summary of IPS. IPS supports people with severe mental health difficulties into employment. It involves intensive individual support, a rapid job search, followed by placement in paid employment and time unlimited in-work support for both the employee and the employer. So IPS teams focus on supporting people with paid employment. As evidence suggests, paid employment has a more positive and long-lasting impact on people's recovery in comparison to other options, for example, such as voluntary work. When compared with other employment support models, IPS has been proven to be twice as effective at helping people to gain employment, and people receiving support from an IPS team are also likely to retain employment for longer, have higher earnings, along with a reduction in symptoms and reduced risk of hospitalisation. So the success of IPS relies very heavily on the effectiveness of partnership working between the mental health teams and the IPS teams. Successful partnership working leads to more people having the opportunity to explore employment, and we work very closely with mental health professionals to help people overcome obstacles to employment. Next slide, please. So since 2016, Southampton IPS have worked with over 1,000 people. So the IPS service is a very flexible person-centred service, and people are free to engage and disengage and re-engage when they feel ready. So all participants have received information, advice and guidance regarding their future job goals. And since 2016, we have assisted with over 360 job starts and job retention cases. Next slide, please. So we base all job searching and all contact with employers on the individual's job goals and preferences rather than just what's available in the local job market. So as a result, the jobs that we assist with are available within a variety of different industries with employers across all sectors. This graphic has been generated from a list of job roles people have started over the last 1.5 years. Industries are very varied, including administration, catering, care, teaching, childcare, some science-based roles in there, customer services. Job roles where people can use their personal experience to help others are common. For example, we often help people gain employment within care, support work, and peer support. Next slide, please. So in addition to supporting a high number of people with employment, the quality of the IPS service within Southern Health is also very high. In August this year, Southampton IPS were the first team in the country to be awarded the IPS Grow Quality Mark as an exemplary service, achieving the highest ever score in an external review. Several areas of our work have been noted as particularly outstanding, including the team's diversity and inclusion work, Southern Health's focus on employment as a treatment option, Southern Health's executive team support for the IPS service, and engagement with employers to find suitable vacancies and providing ongoing support to employees and their employer following a job start. Next slide, please. So this is our certificate of achievement for our exemplary award. So this is actually awarded to the Southampton IPS team and also to the trust. So we're incredibly proud of this, being the first team in the country to achieve this. Next slide, please. Feedback from the people we support and referrers has been consistently positive. This is an example of feedback regarding the success of partnership working from Nicola Crouch, who's the team leader for the Central Community Mental Health team. And she says, having employment support specialists integrated within our team has been instrumental in building a sense of purpose, well-being and recovery for our service users. From a staff point of view, the employment specialists are extremely effective in their roles because they are part of our team. They have an excellent understanding of working with people with severe and enduring mental illness, and they are easily accessible and responsive in their communication. The feedback we receive from our service users is so positive, and having support with getting back into work has given them hope and confidence that many wouldn't otherwise have had. Next slide, please. And finally, we also have some video feedback from Greg. Greg is a former IPS client who started working with our team in 2016, and he's actually now the director of Drop the Mask Productions, who are running this event. So over to Greg, thank you.
With the IPS service, I was referred by my mental health practitioner. IPS I found absolutely unbelievable. They never gave me any pressure to do anything I didn't need to do. So with IPS, I found it really easy to engage or disengage. I felt no pressure to have to find work or a course. It was sort of like all in my control of when I felt well enough to be able to engage with IPS. So I found IPS to be shoulder to shoulder with me in everything that I wanted to do or suggested to. I just didn't feel the pressure. I just felt supported. I didn't feel talked at. I didn't feel controlled or a hierarchy of I must or have to's. It was that freedom to be able to not feel the pressure that give me a chance to get well and to look at employment with the IPS team. And with the IPS, they never pressurized me to work or to look for a job that I didn't want. They actually asked me about education, or I raised the point of maybe going back to education, and would they be able to support that or look for courses that I could do that could lead me more into education and looking for work. And they were absolutely wonderful about it. They supported and listened to everything I had to say or had an idea about. So fundamentally, the IPS were just an ally, one of the best allies I've ever had in support for me looking for work. The final thing I'd like to say is a big thank you to Emma Dorwood, the IPS manager, and all the different teams that I've met or communicated with. The service is absolutely astounding. So thank you very much.
Oh, hi back. Hello. Well, you can see who's standing behind me here, and it's Greg. So not only do we have that wonderful piece of partnership work going on there, but we have this wonderful piece of partnership going on here.
Thank you so
in
much.
terms of the production of our AMM tonight. So do you want to say hello to everybody, Greg? The real Greg.
Yeah, I'm a bit taller there. Can I just say thank you to Southern Health and the individual placement and support with Emma and all our teams. Just thank you very much. It really gives people a chance of life that have had severe mental illness and many other conditions and problems. Just a big thank you. The reason NHS and IPS is the reason why we're here and what we're doing. Thank
Lovely.
you.
Thanks, Greg. Thank you. Lovely. Thanks ever so much, everybody. I think we've got one last presentation to make to you. And this is a presentation from Dominic Lodge, who is our community involvement lead for Southern Health. And Dominic is going to, I think, appear on a video. And we will play that for you now.
Just say good evening to everyone, and yes, and Greg and Ben have been wonderful actually in tidying up some of my productions. So without further ado, Greg, I think we'll go and launch into those lovely PowerPoint presentations. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Ben. Just to sort of say that there's a few things from that package there of slides, really. Two things I'd just like to sort of talk about this evening, one of which is some of the fantastic work that we've been doing with an organisation called the Margaret Clitheroe Trust. Margaret Clitheroe Trust, we've been working with over the last year, trying to understand and engage with the traveller, Gypsy and Roma communities. Margaret Clitheroe Trust do that engagement work, and they do it on our behalf. And they support us to understand the culture of these communities and the work in which, how we can work together and how we can find ways in which we can help people with their health, both their physical health and indeed their mental health. And it's been some incredible work. And one of the things that have struck me from our work with them, they have shared with us that work with the travelling community and has often been the last bastion of acceptable racism in this country. A tremendous sort of thing to say about how we perceive and work with them and how communities perceive the travelling community and the much work that we need to do. So what we've done as a trust is we've invited the Margaret Clitheroe Trust to help us to understand and how we can engage and work with the travelling Gypsy and Roma communities. And we've opened that training to not only just ourselves and our staff here, but also to other trusts and primary care as well, and other third sector organisations. So that's been a great thing. But the other thing I want to talk about is just the work we've been doing with Topham Time Bank. I've been a keen time banker for probably about 12 years, I think now. And time banking is a great way of getting people together from a community, from a neighbourhood, to share what skills they have, to share them with each other. We are all people who have gifts and strengths, and oftentimes we don't use that, or we don't think it's of any worth, but it is for people. And time banking is a great way of sharing the skills that you have with other people, and it generates health, it generates good health and mental wealth, where people really feel strong about themselves. And that's been great. It's over the last 5 years that we've helped set up various time banks in Hampshire. Actually, we were there initially at the Woolmer Time Bank at Borden, Woolmer Forest Time Bank, that recently just celebrated its 6 millionth hour of sharing skills. 6 million hours that people have generated and given to each other. Simple skills about helping people with shopping, helping people with ironing, helping people with cooking, but it's just more than just doing simple tasks. It's about sharing, it's about building up what we call social capital. And I'm 60 this year. Well, I was 60, but I feel as if I'm about 30. The job I do, I love it. I love working in community development. It's a deeper place also than community engagement, actually, because development actually means that you do something with a community and then you just leave it and walk away and they get on with it. And the Topham Time Bank is an example of that, where we have been engaged with local GPs, a community centre, local church, even a square dancing team, and I'm not very good at that, I must admit, but we've been engaged with all sorts of people about getting this time bank off the ground in Topham. And one of the things, a couple of things that it does really, it runs a community lunch every month where it gets its food from Fair Share and also from the time bank allotment. And every month we come together, we share a meal, we invite anyone and everyone from the local community. Often it's people of a certain vintage that come along and enjoy food, conviviality. It's just a great way of generating health. And the one thing I always say about my job is that it's engagement with people to help them to be well and to keep them away from our services. And I suppose that's what I do. So what we're going to do now is going to listen to Gerda, a lady from the Tottenham Time Bank. She's going to talk to us about being on the allotment.
Gerda, hello. This is the Tottenham Time Bank allotment here.
Yeah.
Gerda, can you tell me why this is a great place to be?
Yes. We do some planting, and sometimes we pick vegetables like carrots, potatoes, and sometimes we do a bit of weeding. Sometimes try to make it nice and clear to plant some more fresh vegetables as well.
Brilliant. And they tell me, Gerda, that some of the vegetables go down to the Totten and Ealing community place, where they have a meal for people.
That's right.
Yeah. That's good, isn't it, really? So I think this week they're going to have marrow by the looks of it.
Yeah, I think so.
Brilliant. And what do you like about it's just great to be with people, is it, Gerda, here?
Well, I know most of the people anyway, but because I used to go to Minstead, as Claire detailed you, and I used to do gardening down there. That's why I like it here.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, the weather's not brilliant today, Gerda, is it, Billy? But we can see behind you there, just see that beautiful sunflowers we've got here. And we've got some raised beds. I suppose that helps people if they've got a bad back, doesn't it, really? They don't want to be doing that. Brilliant. Oh, well, Gerda, thank you very much. And it's great to see you as part of the Tottenham Time Bank here at the community garden. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Dominic. I mean, it just made my mind think about how important time is. We've all struggled with time through COVID in one way or another, but actually giving time to other people is really, really important. Would you please thank Gerda for her comments and feedback on the short video? Thank you very much indeed. Thanks, Dominic. We do now have sorry, I was watching the screen then. So I was watching Gerda finish, so now I need to look back at the camera. We now have, I think, a couple of questions that we're going to take, and then we will close the meeting. Sorry we've run on a bit, but I myself and Ron have really enjoyed this evening so much that we didn't want it to stop. So we've not intervened when people have been involved in chatting on a bit longer. So I hope you've been able to stick with us. We certainly are enjoying it. So we'll go to some questions, and Addie Williams, who again was a new non-executive director last year with SUBA. Just for those of you who were here would have met Addie then, and he's going to take some questions for people and feed them into us now. So over to you, Addie, if there are questions ready.
Thank you very much. And we're inviting questions on the chat. So if you do have, if you haven't yet discovered the chat, there is a richness of conversations there. And I think the first thing really to say is how the thread of conversation presentations that we've just listened to, for every one of us, really just reminds us the humanity behind the care that we talk about. And when we're talking about partnership and really just to acknowledge that. And I guess one of the things that comes out from the four speakers is their real passion and the wealth of their convictions on doing the right thing. So I think one of my first questions, really, maybe to go to Emily if she's still there, is to say, from the work that you have done, what do you want to take from that, or what do you want our organization, if you could give us one thing to think this is the one thing that you want Southern as an organization, all of us together, to take away or to learn that you've learned and pass that on to us. Is she there?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
I don't know if this is a very obvious thing to say after the night thing. My big thing is that silo working never works.
Okay.
And so I think as a takeaway, the further you look out into your community, the more people you try and engage with, the better you can develop a service which is value for money, better for the patients, And so, and I think, I think, yeah, so if the big thing is that silo working just is not the way forward.
Thank you. And of course, that really speaks as well about working better together, and how by linking hands together, we can do, we can do great things for ourselves. And thanks for the passion as well for the people that you work with, which came out actually from your sharing with us as well. Now, Annie, if I can ask you one question as well there, just trying to dig into what you shared, and reaching out into communities and working in that space. And we know that as not just our organization, but across our society, across the NHS, there is sometimes a perception that people are hard to reach or impossible to reach. But what you've demonstrated to us is that by kindness and with a passion, it's possible to do that. So how do we make sure that when Anne is not around and Dawn is not around, that becomes something that every part of Southern does? How do we do that? How does that become part of the, just part of the DNA of Southern? If I can ask, how do we get a bit more of that into every part of our organization?
Thank you for that question. I think we just need to continue working in collaboration with each other. The organization needs to get used to those community groups out there, because there's so many of them that, and even myself, I didn't realize they were there. The places of worship, if you want to reach, let's say, Black people, if you go to evangelical churches, Methodist church is full. If you want to reach Muslims, obviously the mosques are there. So we just need to get used to going to those places, temples, to liaise with the faith leaders, because they are key to most of the changes. Like I said before, for St. Denis Activity Group to start, it was a faith leader who wanted to open his heart to the community, and he asked me to support opening the St. Denis Activity Group. So we continue liaising for the organization to know about them of organizations that are there. There are so many of them. And when you get used to that, you can reach people. They are not hard to reach. And work with them people as well to reach them. Working together is the key.
Thank you very much. And I think if ever we needed a reminder that we need to go out, we need to form strategic partnerships, and we need to go and learn about people actually to enrich ourselves and through that process, and also to offer our skills and expertise, but our hand there. So that's important. The other question I've got is for Emma, and I think Emma's talk really kind of reflected for us that really for people that have severe mental health problems, where they're usually very much ostracized from society, cut out from economic opportunities, we are able to demonstrate what is possible actually, and to do that in a very unique but pretty much really of the highest standards. So somebody's asked a question here that if you are a person with severe mental health and you do get help to get employment through the work that the IPS does, what happens if unfortunately you become unwell and then cannot work? What happens in that situation? Because for some people that may be a barrier in terms of engagement, to think, I don't want to put myself out there, but if I can't cope with it, then I let other people down, including actually even the team at IPS or the employer. So I think that's a good question really for us to unpack, Emma, if possible.
Yes, definitely. And I think the stat is that about 75% of people fall out of work within the first 3 months if they don't receive support. So with IPS support, that we find a lot more people retain work in the long term. But because IPS, part of the model is that we offer time unlimited ongoing support following the job start. So that means that no matter how long down the line it is after the job start, if the person's struggling, they can get back in contact with us and they can have help to help retain that position. So yeah, we just keep supporting the person for as long as they need it.
Thank you very much. So it's really to assure people that it's not just the placement sort of role, but there is ongoing support, and there is this kind of wraparound support in terms of helping you to get to be, you know, to be successful actually. And it's not just sort of a kind of a job finding service that it is. No, thank you very much, and thanks for the successes that is there. Now for Dominic, apart from the fact that Dominic is, you know, as in a very self-depreciating way, let us know that he's quite ageless, you know, so he's, you know, the numbers don't stack up to the person, so it definitely doesn't look 60 there. But I think that his heart is so full of richness that it's not difficult to understand that he brings a real passion for helping people and transforming lives, and what a work it is that he's doing in Southern. So my question again would be the same one to him, which is, for the brilliant work that he is been doing over the years, and how it's obvious that he really enjoys it, what would he say to a colleague that's listening to this thinking, well, I'm just not that sort of person and I don't think I can start something there? How do we encourage other people to step into that sort of sense of, you can do great things together, you know, we can transform lives, and it can be something that is very enriching and fulfilling, not just for the people that we do it for or with, but even for ourselves as well, which is something that I think really came across from listening to him.
Thank you very much. Yes, what I will say is just two things really. One of which is to let go. I think as I've got older, I've learned to let go of preconceived ideas of how to do it and how to be someone. I've learned to step out of the way and let communities get on with it, let people get on with it. That's the important thing. Folk know what they're doing. They don't need so much of our intervention, of perhaps an intervention that is quite restrictive in many ways. I just a little story. I can remember talking to somebody and saying that I'm off out into the community, and they said, what do you mean? And I said, I'm off out into the community. And they said, well, what are you saying? And I said, well, I'm off down to the co-op down the road. And they said, well, why are you saying that? And I said, because every time I go to work, I talk to people and they say, I've done something today in the community, but we are the community. We are people who live in neighborhoods and communities, and we generate that wealth. But the main thing I would say, Adi, is we go at the speed of trust. Whatever work that I do with people, it's about the speed of trust. And sometimes folk talk to me about scaling up. They talk to me about replicating stuff here, there, and everywhere. Sometimes, you know, if someone asks me for some metrics or whatever, some of my work takes years, you know, years of relationships with folk. Just and we go at the speed of trust. And in particular, I'm finding that I'm learning so much in our work that we're doing with the traveling community. Because their speed is a very different speed from the speed that I can imagine. So I've never been known, Adi, and all my colleagues, my wonderful colleagues on screen here, will know that I'm not the fastest person around in terms of work, but you go at the speed of trust, and that's what I would say.
Thank you so much. And I think that's a really great place, really, and a real gem for all of us. And thank you all again. And for the teams that support the work that you do, who are not visible here, but really to thank you, because when we started at the beginning of this evening talking about the wonderful colleagues in Southern, we have just really seen a bit of that in yourselves, and we are really humbled by that as well. I'll hand over to Lynn to kindly help to move on our agenda for the evening, but such a privilege to be able to speak with yourselves through the questions as well.
Thank you so much, Adi. How right you are about, you know, just glimpsing a small number of projects this evening, and understanding the depth of the movement that there is in Southern Health around this partnership working of all kinds. I'd just like to thank everyone, really, everybody who's taken part, everybody who's attended this evening. It's been a year of challenges for us as an organisation, but it's also been a year of real progress. And I personally, and I know our board too, are hugely impressed with the innovation and commitment of all of our colleagues across the trust, and our partners and their willingness to work with us. I'd like to thank our staff, all of our staff, for their continued hard work and commitment to this trust, and our efforts to form successful partnerships with a range of organisations and community groups, and for the benefit of our population. Our staff are really up for this. They live in communities, their children go to school in communities, their friends are in communities, they know how to engage with the community because they are it. We look forward to the coming year and focusing on more new ways of working ever closer with our partner organisations, and continuing to strive to deliver the best possible care for our people and for their families. Thank you to everyone again who's attended, and to those of you who've asked questions. Sometimes that can be quite daunting. Thank you to everybody who's presented. Thank you to Adi and Suba for coordinating the questions and the feedback. I'd like to thank Ron again and the executive team around the work that they do, and also to our non-executive directors and governors who really do hold the organisation to account and keep us moving forward. Sorry we ran a bit on, but we've enjoyed it. I hope you have. Have a lovely, safe journey to wherever you're going. It might be from the front of your chair to the sofa. It may be further, but thank you, everybody, and good night.